तत्सत् श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम्. Let's read from the mantra number 4. Anejat ekam manaso javiyo nainat deva apnuvan purvamarshat tad dhavatonnyan atyeti tishtat tasminnapo matarishva dadhati tadejati tannaijati taddore tadvantike tadantarasya sarvasya tadu sarvasyasya bahyataha yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevānupashyati sarvabhuteshu chātmanam tato na vijugupsate yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhūt vijanataha tatra ko mohaha kashokaha ekatvamanupashyataha. Okay. So we saw from this fourth mantra until this eighth mantra, which we are going to see later today. In all these mantras, the nature of the Atma, Atma Swarupam, is revealed. And here we saw not only Atma Swarupam, in revealing the nature of the Atma, in the last two verses also, mainly what exactly is the knowledge of the self. What is the knowledge of the self and what is the benefit of that knowledge? Jnanam and Jnana Phalam. Both also are discussed in these verses. And we saw very clearly the seventh mantra, the last mantra we saw. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atma eva abhut vijanataha. So vijanataha, for the wise person who has the clear vision of the reality, the innermost essence of every being as the innermost essence of one's own self, as the very self in one's own mind. For such a person, so Vijanana Purushaha is the wise person. Wise person is the one who has the clear, ascertained vision of the reality. So when you say the person has the clear, ascertained vision of the reality, means what is the reality? The reality is the Atma. What is Atma? Atma is that Vastu, which is the all-pervasive, the only secondless, non-dual, all-pervasive reality, obtaining as the innermost essence of all the beings, is Atma. And this wise person is the one who knows the Atma. So one who knows that Atma means, where does he know, how does he know? So he knows the reality not as an object. He knows that Atma, the all-pervasive, I'm repeating this again, okay? The all-pervasive, secondless, non-dual, innermost essence of all the beings, the reality, he knows not as an object, but as the very swarupam of this subject, as the truth of oneself in one's own mind, as one's own self. For him, the reality, the Atma, is none other than the very self. And he is Vijanana Purushaha. And for such a person, in the very self, Yasmin Atmani, in the very self, all the beings become the very self. Which means, all the beings become the very self means what? No being is anything other than the self. Every being here, a living being, a non-living thing, and the mobile thing, non-immobile thing, animate, inanimate, sentient, insentient, all the beings, all the things, all that is here, for him, have become Atma. Means what? They do not become Atma, they are already Atma. Before he did not know the Atma, therefore they did not know the truth, reality, therefore they were as though they are outside. Now for him, once he knows what the truth is, because he knows the reality, therefore now there are already all of them, everything being the Atma is very clear. Everything is Atma. How can he say that? He cannot know, unless he knows that Atma, he cannot know that everything being the Atma. He knows the Atma, therefore he knows everything being the Atma. So therefore he said here, Sarva, he says, Bhutani, Sarvani Bhutani Atma eva abhut. For whom? All the beings become the self for the one who knows the self. For the one who does not know the self, all the beings do not become the self, which means what? They're seen as something other than the self. When do you see everything as yourself and everything as something other than yourself? In ignorance, you will see things as something other than yourself. In knowledge, you see everything as the very self. Therefore, Atmeva Bhut, for such a person is what? For such a person, there is a vision of the oneness of the reality. One who sees all the beings as the self is the one who does not see a second reality. One who does not see second reality, second thing means for him all that is there is only Vastu, only reality, therefore only self. Therefore he sees the oneness of the reality. For such a person, ekatvam anupashyataha, only for such a person, there is no delusion, there is no grief. If grief is possible only where there is mohaha, delusion. Delusion is possible only where there is ajnanam. The ignorance of the self is resolved, means ignorance, the products of ignorance, the delusion also will be resolved. The delusion is resolved means the delusion caused grief also will be resolved. There is no shoka, there cannot be shokaha and mohaha where there is no ignorance. Ignorance cannot be there where there is jnanam. What jnanam? The vision of the oneness of the reality. Where there is no second thing other than Atma. That's why I said, Ahamidam Sarvam. All that is here is myself. When he says that self for him is Atma Brahma. We saw last class. Now we had to see the last mantra revealing the nature of the Atma. Here, as we have already seen, the concluding mantra revealing the elaborating on Jnana Yoga also this mantra also presents the same content of the previous mantras. This does not say something new and different, but the different words we have to see. And which means here also the content of this following mantra, this mantra happens to be the same content, same nature of the Atma which has been already discussed is again discussed here. Therefore Shankara gives a very short, brief introduction for this. When he starts like this, Kim Lakshanaha Atma. Kim Lakshanaha Atma means Kim Lakshanam, Yasya Atmanaha Kim Lakshanam. Saha Atma Kim Lakshanaha Atmanaha. Atma. Now what is the nature of the Atma? So here, we're going to see here, the Atma here is viewed from two different angles. One Atma, only Atma, secondless Atma, non-dual Atma. So, Ekaha, Advayaha, Advitiyaha Atma is seen as what? As Sopadikaha Atma. Atma with Upadi and also Nirupadikaha Atma. Atma without the Upadi. You don't see Atma without the Upadi, but still cognitively, resolving the Upadi, you see Atma as a pure reality. And you also see what Atma with the Upadi also you see. So, Sopadika Drishtya, Nirupadika Drishtya, with in the two angles also. From these two angles you see the Atma. So this mantra presents the Atma Swarupam from two different angles. So here it starts with this. Let us read the verse now. Sapariyagat Shukram Akayam Avranam Asnaviram Shuddham Apapavidham Kavir, it's a Kavihi Manishi Sparibhuhu Swayambhuhu Yatha Tathyataha Arthan Vyadadhat Shashvatibhyah Samabhyah. Okay. In the beginning, the mantra presents Nirupadhika Atma Swarupam. What does it mean? The nature of the Atma from its own standpoint. Is revealed. Later on, as a Sopadhika Atma, also Atma Swarupam is presented. So with the Upadhi, Sopadhikaha Atma, Sa Viseshaha Atma, Sa Gunaha Atma. Without Upadhi, you can say what? Nirupadhikaha Atma, Nirviseshaha Atma, Nirgunaha Atma. All the three words mean the same. Nirupadhikaha, Nirgunaha, Nirviseshaha. So Nirvisesha Atma, Nirguna Atma, Nirupadhika Atma, same. Means the same. Ishvaraha, that Param Brahma. You can say Sopadhikaha, Sagunaha. Then Saviseshaha means Ishvaraha. Ishvaraha, Brahma. We are going to see the reality as the Lord of the universe and reality as just the mere pure reality. We're going to see here. So here, Saha. Saha. Saha means it's a that. That means what? Saha is a pronoun. And is a masculine gender pronoun. The pronoun is, the mantra starts with the pronoun. Therefore, that means happens to be the masculine gender pronoun. Definitely, this stands for the Atma. Atma, which has been being discussed, in the whose Swarupam has been discussed, and the knowledge of whose knowledge has been discussed, and the benefit of whose knowledge is discussed, that Atma is indicated by the pronoun Saha. Saha, therefore Saha Atma. That Atma, that self. That self means, again Atma means just don't, self means immediately don't have some different meaning. Atma means self. Self means what? I told you all, it's a reflexive pronoun. It's not a first person singular pronoun. Therefore you can say Atma implies what? Absolute reality, ultimate truth. What is that absolute reality? Param Brahma. Absolute reality. What is absolute reality? The absolute reality which is all pervasive. All pervasive, obtaining as the innermost essence of everything that is here. Therefore, which obtains as the innermost essence of one's own self. That Atma, which has been being discussed in all these previous mantras, is again discussed here. Saha Atma. You have to add Atma to Saha, then it becomes clear. Paryagat. Paryagat. First word is what? Paryagat. Each word implies the Swarupam of the Atma. When I say Swarupam, the word Swarupam is much more expressive than even the word nature. Even though helplessly, for want of expression and words, I use the term nature in English, isn't it? We use. But what you understand, nature means what? Swarupam, of the reality, the Atma. Each word implies. Each word is a lakshanam to understand the Swarupam of the Atma. Why do we have to understand the Swarupam here? Because the reality itself has to be understood only in terms of its nature. There is no way of arriving at the reality other than understanding its Swarupam. Because you need something to, how to arrive at it, how to understand. Because it is formless, it is not an object. Atma is not an object, isn't it? Because it is not an object, it will not be available for perception, sense perception, thought perception, or it's not, can't be reached, isn't it? By, as an act of, result of an action also. Not an object of action, object of perception, object of thought, means it's not an object at all, first of all. And it is the most abstract reality. Therefore, it is not available for word description also. It is not available for word description, thought no, means, word description means how to understand something. It has to be described, it has to be explained, it is inexplicable, incomprehensible, most abstract. That is why the most abstract reality has to be what now? It is the only way of arriving at reality is in terms of its swarupam. Swarupa jnanenaiva, swarupa dvara eva, swarupa avagamanenaiva vastu avagantavyam. Understand? It has to be understood in terms of its swarupam. That's why each word only implies reveals the swarupam of the Atma. And each word has a literal meaning, and each word needs to be handled also. That is why we need sampradaya. Okay, first word tells you, no? Pariyagat. Pariyagat means it's a verb. Saha Atma Pariyagat. Pariyagat, first word is a verb. And verb, what does it convey? This word is a lung aorist past. It's called lung. Okay? It's in past tense verb. It's a past tense verb. What does it mean? And it has an affix also. Sorry, it has a prefix also. The word Pariyagat has, the past tense affix. The root has taken a past tense affix. It has a prefix also. What the pari, pari is there, and then we have what? Agat. Agat means went. Gachati, goes. Agat means went. Agachat means lung, isn't it? Past, simple past tense. But agat means it is not simple past tense. In Sanskrit we have some, okay, we have too many things, okay, understand. It's called lung, not lung. Lung means what is aorist past, which means, again it means we can take it went. For our understanding, we can say it has gone. Gone. Agat means went and are gone. And pari is a prefix. If you take the pari, the prefix separately, doesn't convey any meaning. Okay, it means the pari by itself is not a word. But this prefix pari, it goes with the root as a prefix, isn't it? Then it means on all sides. Pari means on all sides. All sides, sorry. On all sides, everywhere. That is the meaning it gives, conveys. Therefore, that which has gone all sides, everywhere, is what? Pariyagat. So, Atma has gone everywhere. What does it mean? So, Pariyagat everywhere means has gone everywhere. It implies what? It pervades everything. Understand how this word should be taken? It should be understood as what? It pervades everything. It means it's all pervasive. So this word reveals what? All pervasiveness being the swarupam of the Vastu, Atma. What is that which is all pervasive? Isn't it? That's what we have to understand here. Okay. So all pervasiveness is implied by the word Sarvagat, Paryagat. Sarvagatam, we say, no? The same meaning. Paryagat means all pervasive. Atma is all pervasive means, because it doesn't mean, Shankara Bhagavad makes it very clear, when you say smoke also pervades everything. You can say that. No, Dhumaha Also, the smoke also can be said to be what? Smoke also pervades. Smoke doesn't pervade immediately, isn't it? Slowly it keeps moving and smoke spreads all over, then it fills, it pervades. We may mistake. So Shankara Bhagapada makes it very clear. It is not like, how does the Atma pervade everything? Means not an action, the very nature. So Akashavat, like the space without recurring to move anywhere, go anywhere, already being everywhere, isn't it? It pervades everything. So all pervasiveness is the very swarupam of the Atma. So Saha Atma Paryaghat means what? That Atma is of the nature of all pervasiveness. So Paryagat, Atma is of the nature of all pervasiveness. This one word, you have to see two meanings. It tells what Atma is, it also tells what Atma is not. When you say Atma is of the nature of all pervasiveness, it rejects all those objects, all the objects, every object, everything which is spatially limitless, so limited, spatially limited becomes negated as anatma, not the Atma. Is it clear? Atma is of the nature of all pervasiveness means, is there an object which is all pervasive other than the space? Everything is limited by space, isn't it? Everything is spatially limited. Therefore, Saha Atma Paryagat. Therefore, you will not take anything, any object here as Atma. You don't need to, isn't it? Saha Atma Paryagat. Then Shukram. And here onwards, you can see the words Shukram, Akayam, Avranam, Asnaviram, Shuddham, Apapa Vidham. The first, the half of the mantra. All these words obtaining in this first half of the mantra are all in neuter gender. Which means all these words are neuter gender words. But how should we take these words? We have to, when you want to see the meanings, we have to change the words into masculine gender words. Same words only. Why? Because the mantra begins with the masculine gender pronoun, Saha, as a pronoun of the masculine gender word, Atma. It also ends with the words which are in masculine gender. There's a beginning word is in masculine gender. Also the mantra, the second part of the mantra, the second half of the mantra, all the words are in masculine gender. There were only some words are in neuter gender. And those words obtaining in neuter gender also should be taken as masculine gender words. Okay? Some information for you. Don't worry about all those things. For if you know some gender difference, you may ask, why Saha Paryaghat and why Shukram, why it is other words are in Ajna. Every word, okay, if you don't know, there's no problem. Kram. So Shukram, let us take it as Shukraha. Okay. Shukram is the neuter gender word. Now how to convert it into a masculine gender word? Nothing. Shukraha. Atma, you can say Atma Paryagat. You can take it as what? Atma, that verb should be, even it's a verb, that verb should be converted into a noun. A verb also should be converted into noun. Why? Whenever the verbs are, verbs are used in the context of jnana, knowledge, especially the mantras revealing in the context of the knowledge of the Atma, the verbs should be converted into nouns. In Vedanta Shastram, it's all the information you may require, you may not require, but I want to tell you this. We have this in Vedanta, and if you take the Veda Shastram as a whole, we have something called analytical study of the Karma Kanda. It is called Purva Mimamsa. And we have analytical study of the Jnana Kanda, which is called Uttara Mimamsa. So Karma Kanda is associated with what? Karma Kanda deals with all rituals, performances of rituals, actions, etc. Jnana Kanda deals with what? Nature of the reality, the self. So therefore, even in Uttara Mimamsa or in the Karma Kanda portion, if the nouns are used, the nouns are to be converted into verbs for the purpose of understanding. In the portions dealing with knowledge of the Atma, even the verbs have to be converted into nouns. Therefore, the word Paryagat, that first word, which is a verb, should be understood in the sense of a noun. So Paryagat, what now? You can say Paryagatam, Paryagataha, isn't it? You can say Sarvagataha. Atma is all pervasive, which means Atma is of the nature of all pervasiveness. Now we are going to the next word. What is that? Shukraha. Shukraha. Shukraha means Shuddhaha. The word Shukraha also means Shuddhaha. Shuddhaha means what? Pure, clean. That is the meaning. But here we are not taking that meaning. Why? Because in this mantra itself, both the words are used. Shukraha is used. Shuddhaha is also used. When the two words meaning this, implying the same meaning are used, one word has to be given some other meaning, isn't it? Because some other meaning must be implied by one word. Therefore, Shuddhaha here should be taken as, Shuddhaha is a word negating the impurity. Shuddham negates impurity. Which means what now? Atma is pure. Means what? Atma is pure, which means Atma, pure here implies Atma is of the nature of effulgence. Purity implies light. Purity implies clarity. Clarity implies light. Light implies knowledge. Shukraha. I'm going to see that. So, Shukra means what? Shukra means Jyotishmat. Shankara gives the meaning Jyotishmat. Atma Shukraha means Atma Jyotishmat. Jyotish means light. Jyotishmat means the one who is endowed with the light. That which is endowed with the light is called Jyotishmat. Jyotishman Atma. Dyutiman Atma. Prakashavan Atma. One who is endowed with the light means what? Being endowed with means not that Atma has the light. Here Atma is of the nature of effulgence. Atma is of the nature of effulgence means Atma is self-effulgent. Atma is of the nature of effulgence means what? Atma is pure knowledge. Atma is nothing but pure knowledge. Atma is of the nature of pure consciousness or awareness. In what form does the reality obtain? The reality obtains in the form of consciousness, pure awareness, pure consciousness. The word Shukraha implies what? The implied meaning of the word Shukra is Atma is pure knowledge, or which is self-effulgence. Is of the nature of self-effulgence means what? Atma is of the nature of pure consciousness. Here the doubt might come, why the pure consciousness, the pure awareness, being the nature of Atma, is also mentioned by the word light. Pure consciousness is also meant by the word light. Jyotihi, Jyotish, isn't it? Jyotihi, Paranjyotihi, we say that also. Why consciousness is implied by the word Jyotihi, light? Definitely, the so-called light is what? Consciousness is not the light as we understand the meaning of the word light, isn't it? For us, light means what? Sun is light, moon is light, fire is light, any self-luminous body, a star is light, lightning is light, even these bulbs glowing with the support of electricity is also what? Isn't it? The light we enjoy is light. So why consciousness is meant by the word light? Consciousness or awareness also is said to be the light. Because if we take the meaning of the word light, what is light? Light is that which is self-luminous, first of all. Any light must be self-luminous. Okay? Which means self-luminous from the standpoint of the opaque things. A light is a self-luminous body from the standpoint of opaque things. Is it clear? Therefore, the self-luminous thing, not only it reveals its existence by itself, self-revealing, a self-luminous thing reveals its existence, is self-revealing, and in its mere presence, by its mere presence, it brings to light the non-luminous, opaque objects, opaque things. And that's why illumining is also what? Is the nature of the light. Illumining is the nature of the light. The light does not need to do anything, does not need to undergo any change. By its mere presence, by its mere existence, being what it is, it reveals its own existence. It also reveals the existence of the non-luminous opaque things. Through illumination, it brings other opaque things also to light. Non-luminous, non-revealing, non-shining, opaque things it brings to light. Therefore, simultaneously, isn't it? Not one after the other. It's mere presence. Therefore, the illumining again is what now? Self-revealing is the nature. The light means self-revealing, being self-luminous is its nature, Swarupam. And illumination of other non-luminous things also is its Swarupam. Is it clear? That's what is light. But the so-called light, whether it is a light emerging from the glowing bulbs or the electric bulbs or sunlight or moonlight or light coming from stars or lightning light, light from the fire, any light, isn't it? All those lights are only relative lights. Relatively they are lights. Relative means what? They are not the absolute lights. They do not have absolute luminosity. They are not absolutely self-luminous. They are relatively self-luminous, which means only from the standpoint of non-luminous, opaque things they are luminous. But really speaking, even they are also dependent on what? The so-called relatively luminous, the opaque illumining lights also, in fact, it's not self-luminous, is it? Dependent on some other light. That way we say the whole Jagat, the entire universe, is experienced only in 5 different forms as 5 different objects. And that's why the whole Jagat obtaining in the form of 5 different objects will be non-existent if they are not known. They will not be known if they are not perceived. Therefore, the existence of the universe obtaining in 5 different forms is very much dependent on the perception. If non-perceived is as good as non-existent. Is it clear? Therefore, the Jagat is like, why Jagat is of the nature of inertness. So we say an opaque thing is that which is incapable of revealing its presence, existence in the absence of light. Similarly, the external universe also, here the universe, the elemental universe also, being inert in its nature, is incapable of revealing its existence by itself. It doesn't enjoy existence of its own. Why? Because it cannot become known by itself. It cannot reveal its existence by itself. Understand? Therefore, it is very much dependent. The universe shines after what now? Some other light. Universe been obtaining in the form of 5 different objects. Form, sound, form, color, light, or sound, or smell, or taste, or touch. All these objects alone constitute the universe, and all these objects will be as good as non-existent if they are not perceived. Is it clear? And now all these objects shine, means they shine because they're illumined by the sense organs, sense powers. The sense powers alone lend existence to the external world of objects. And the sense, including the body, okay? Sense powers, again, sense powers also not luminous, they are dependent on the mind. Sense powers also inert sense powers. And how do they come to light? How do they have the capacity to illumine the external world of objects? Because they're also what? They shine after the light called mind, conscious mind. So the external world shines after the conscious sense powers. Conscious sense powers become conscious and they shine after the conscious mind. And the conscious mind also is what? Basically, a conscious mind by itself is inert mind. It becomes conscious and gets the qualification conscious mind because it is illumined by the Atma Chaitanyam, the consciousness. Which means it is Atma by its mere presence, mere existence, without any effort, what now? Lends consciousness and illumines the mind, knows the mind. Knowing means what? Knowing is not an action here. Knowing is illumining. Understand? Knowing is illumining. Drishtireva srishtihi, we say. Seeing is what? Lending existence, creating. Understand? Therefore, here Atma illumines the mind, not by doing anything, just by its mere presence. Which means it is the Atma Chaitanyam which alone brings the mind to existence, lends existence to the mind through illumination. Understand? Therefore, bringing the mind, by lending consciousness and existence to the mind, bring the mind to light, thereby, through the mind, illumining the sense powers and bring the sense powers to light, and thereby, through the sense powers, lending existence, lending consciousness, illumining the external world of objects, is what now? Actually, it's called illumining the world. Therefore, for illumining is the nature of the consciousness, doesn't need to do anything. Therefore, he says what now? It is said here, always, consciousness is said to be the light. So, light is not consciousness. Understand? Light is not consciousness, but consciousness is the absolute light. Why? Because consciousness reveals its existence by itself and by its mere presence, existence, it brings the inert, insentient, material world of objects from mind to the gross universe, all of them to light. Therefore, it is always, it is said to be the light. So here the word Shukram, I'll come back to this now. Okay? The word Shukram, why it's called Shukram, what connection does it have? Okay? Shankara Bhagavad gives this meaning. Shukram, even though literally it means pure, clear, clean, etc., here the implied meaning is what? Jyotishmat. Shukraha is equal to Jyotishmat. Jyotishmat means what? The one who is of the nature of self-effulgence, self-revealing, and all-illumining. You have to take two. Self-revealing, self-effulgent consciousness, which is of the nature of all-illumining. Is it clear? For Shukraha. Then, next comes Akayam. Next is Akayam. So, Akayam should be taken as what? Akayaha. Even the word, to understand the meaning of one word Shukraha, you can also go to what? Refer to the meaning of that verse, famous verse. Na tatra suryo bhati, na chandra tarakam. Elaborately discussed. Okay? We've already seen many times, I think. You would have heard, isn't it? Go to that verse, refer to that verse and listen to the meaning of unfoldment of that verse, mantra. Then you understand the one word is the meaning of this one word Shukraha, you understand as the meaning of the whole, that mantra. Is it clear? Shukraha. Then Akayam, you change it to Akayaha. You keep this word first, then we'll see the next word. Avranam. See that now? Avranam, Asnaviram. Now we take these three words, Akayam, Avranam, Asnaviram. We are going word by word here. So Akayam should be changed into Akayaha. Avranam should be changed into Avranaha. then asnaviram should be changed into asnaviraha. So these three words, this avranaha and asnaviraha, these two words negate the gross body, sthula shariram. Sthula sharira nishedaha is done by these two words. These two words negate the gross physical body, which means what? Atma does not have a gross body. Atma does not have gross body. Gross physical body means Atma is free from gross physical body. There is no possessed connection between Atma and the gross body. Understand? Which means we don't say Atma does not have the body. Which means Atma is free from the gross body. And the previous verse, akayaha. The word kayaha also, kayam means body, shariram. Akayaha also means what? The bodiless. The one who is free from the body only. Because the three words are used, the Shankara here comments upon this word as this thula sharira, the kayam should be taken as sukshma shariram, subtle body. So akayaha means the one who is free from subtle body. Sukshma sharira rahitaha atma is implied by the word akayaha. So akayaha negates, the word akayaha negates subtle body. Avranaha, asnaviraha, two words negate the gross body. One more word comes, shuddhaha. Okay? The following the word shuddhaha, not shukraha. Okay? The one more word which is going to come, shuddhaha. That word shuddhaha negates the causal body. We have three bodies here: gross body, subtle body, and causal body. The three bodies with Atma constitute what? Every individual, isn't it? Every individual is nothing but combination of Atma plus three bodies. And here, what is Atma? Atma is free from the gross body. Atma is free from subtle body. Atma is free from causal body also. Atma does not have, devoid of, isn't it? These three bodies. So what are the words used here? Akayaha negates subtle body. Avranaha, asnaviraha, two words negate gross physical body. Shuddhaha negates causal body. Okay, now we have to see the meaning. You take this word, avranaha. Vranam means wound. Pun in Tamil we say. Wound is called vranam. What is which is subject to wounds? Physical body alone is subject to wounds. What is that which gets wounded? Body, gross body. Gross body alone has wounds. Gross body can have, physical body can get wounded. Therefore, this word Atma does, avranaha means the one who is not subject to get wounded. The one who is not subject to get wounded, the one who is not, does not have, one who does not have wounds. Means what? One who is free from wounds means what? One who is free from the physical body which is subject to get wounded. Is it clear? We have to go indirectly like that. Therefore, avranaha negates atma being, negates the gross body. Next we go to another word. Asnaviraha. I think the word used in the mantra is what? Asnaviram. But we are taking it as Asnaviraha. Why? You remember the word, isn't it? The word Atma is a masculine gender word, and each word describes what? Presents the, each word implies the nature of the Atma. Is it clear? So, therefore, these words also reveal what? They reveal what Atma is not. Now, Pariyagat revealed the Swarupam of the Atma, what Atma is, isn't it? And these words also negate what? What Atma is not. Atma is not the Sthula Shariram. Atma is not the Sukshma Shariram. Atma is not the Karana Shariram also. But these words do not say, okay, what Atma is not means Atma is free from all these three bodies. Okay. Next is Asnaviraha. See the word, Snava. Snava is a word which means many things here, okay? Snava can simply mean a blood vessel, tendon, or even ligament, fibrous, tissues which connect the bones, to tissues, muscles, connect the bone to bone. Also it's called what? Snava. Many things, okay? It's a sort of physical part. It's called muscles, tissues, the ligament, etc., connecting the bone to a bone, another bone, connecting a bone to muscles. It's called snava. Also blood vessel also. It's called snava. So this snavaha means shiraha. Shiraha means blood vessels again. So snavaha yasmin yasya na santi. That was asnaviraha. Asnaviraha means one who is free from these blood vessels, etc., tendons, ligament, the fibrous tissues. It's called what now? Asnaviraha. They all these, the blood, bone, muscles, tissues, they all are associated with the physical body only, gross physical body. So Asnaviraha is one word, negates what? Atma is not the physical body. Not only that, Atma is free from physical body. Atma is devoid of physical body. Atma does not have physical body. Is it clear? That's what it said here. Therefore, Asnaviraha. So, Avranaha, Asnaviraha negated gross physical body. And then Akayaha. Now we have to go back to the first word again, Akayaha. Why I have to tell this? The word Kayam also means what? Shariram. But already physical body has been negated by those two words. Therefore, Kayam should be taken as Linga Shariram. Linga Shariram means what? Subtle body, an astral body. Not only Atma is free from gross physical body, Atma is free from subtle body also. Subtle body means what? Subtle body is nothing but all subtle aspects which indwell the gross body, such as, which means one word, Atma is not the mind, Atma is free from the mind. Definitely many people mistake the mind for the self, Atma, isn't it? Atma is not the mind, Atma is free from the mind. Atma is devoid of mind. Atma is free from the mind. Atma is free from sense powers. Atma is free from powers of organs of actions. Atma is free from pranas. All these subtle aspects which constitute the subtle body, and which goes, which leaves a subtle body. What is subtle body? Imperceptible, which is not like the gross body. This imperceptible subtle body, okay, subtle aspects which constitute the subtle body, in whose presence body is alive, in whose absence body will be dead, whose departure is what now? Death of the body, makes the body dead, and whose presence makes the body alive, and whose entry makes the body what now? Again born also, isn't it? Entry means what? Whose presence entry lends life to the body. That sukshma shariram, subtle body, is also what now? Atma is free from the subtle body also. That is why this Upanishad is for those people who definitely know what subtle body is. Is it clear now? Therefore, akayaha kayam yasya nasti. Saha akayaha. The one who is free from, devoid of subtle body is akayaha. Two bodies have been negated. Now go to the next verse. Now, next word now. Shuddham. So, saha paryagat shukraha akayaha avranaha asnaviraha. Now we have to go to what? Shuddham. Next word is Shuddham. When you go to the word Shuddham, you take it as what? Shuddhaha. Atma Shuddhaha. As I told you already, the word Shukraha implies what? Atma Swarupam being self-effulgence. No, pure knowledge, awareness. But here the word Shuddhaha means pure, which means Atma is of the nature of purity. Purity, what is purity? Pure means what? How can you define what purity is? What is pure? Being free from impurity is being pure. Understand? Oh my God. Don't need to be something. Purity means don't think something is very special. Being free from impure is what? Being pure. Being free from impurity is what? Being pure. Not being impure is being pure. So Atma is free from, Atma is of the nature of purity, means Atma is free from impurity. So what is the impurity here? We can say, impurity means all our kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, going through samsara means, suffering samsara means what? Having all these in the mind is suffering samsara, isn't it? This is what is impurity. These impurities obtaining in the mind alone is what? Having them in the mind is suffering. That's what going through samsara. Isn't it true? Fear, anger, anxiety, all samsara only. Samsarika dukkham, isn't it? Now, but all of them, what is that which is the cause for all these impurities, so-called impurities? Ajnanam, isn't it? Ignorance which is the cause of other impurities and blemishes and sins, etc., is also what? Impurity. So here, Ajnanam, which is the cause of all the impurities, is the basic fundamental impurity. So Atma is free from what now? Ajnanam. impurities. Okay. Atma is free from ignorance. Atma does not have ignorance. Atma is not ignorant. Atma is what? Pure knowledge is devoid of ignorance. Free from ignorance. Is it clear? One meaning. The word ajnana, we have to understand one more thing. So, the ajnanam also is another word for avidya. Avidya and ajnanam are synonyms. You know that? What is avidya? Avidya also means ignorance only. Literally. Okay? Literally I'm saying. So, avidya, that the cause, the original cause, the source, from which the mind also has come into existence, isn't it? The source of the mind. When you say ignorance of anything, suppose I am ignorant of computer, I am ignorant of, physics equations. If I am ignorant of mathematics, I am ignorant of French language. When you say that ignorance of anything, ignorance of the reality, or ignorance of Atma, ignorance of any object in the world, that ignorance is what? A mental trait of the mind. Okay, the problem obtaining in the mind, associated with the mind. Is it clear? That is ignorance. That ignorance, the mental trait, the trait of the mind, the problem obtaining in the mind, associated with the mind, is also what? Known by the word ajnanam. Is it clear? But we have one more. Not the trait of the mind here, the cause of the mind. The cause of the mind, or the source of the mind, from which is out of which the ignorance or the mind comes into being. All the thoughts emerge, which means it's called Moola Vidya, Moola Jnanam, which is equated to Maya, the original matter, the original subtlest matter. Is it clear? Which is the cause of, which is the source of the mind, cause of the mind. It is, so ajnanam, the word ajnanam has two meanings. One is what? As the ignorance, which ignorance obtaining as a trait of the mind, trait associate, the problem obtaining in the mind. Or the ajnanam also means what? Moola ajnanam, which is the very cause of the mind, which is equated to Maya, which otherwise called Maya. Is it clear? It's clear or not? Therefore, here we say Atma, okay, the all-pervasive absolute reality obtaining as the innermost essence of everything, every being, that Atma is free from Maya, the Moola Vidya. Is it clear? You have to go this much. Which is the cause of the very mind. Therefore, any mental trait is what? It's also a product of this Moola Vidya only. Is it clear? Got it? Yeah. Therefore, Shuddhaha. Shuddhaha means the Shuddhaha negates what? No, negates Therefore, the Shuddha stands for what? Karana Shariram. So, Shuddha negates Ashuddham, impurity. The fundamental, basic, original impurity, isn't it? Which is the cause of ignorance and which is the cause of all other problems, isn't it? For ignorance also there must be some cause, no? Ignorance is the cause of all the samsara. And what is the cause of ignorance? Isn't it? Cause means it must have come somewhere, it must have come into existence from, isn't it? What is the source of the ignorance? What is the cause of the ajnanam? Ignorance, which is the cause of samsara. Got it? That is called what? Moola ajnanam. Moola avidya. Which is maya. That is the basic, fundamental, original impurity, known by the word ajnanam, which is the cause of the ignorance, which is the cause of all other mental traits, all other problems. The samsara is also what? Said to be impurity here. Therefore, the Shuddha means Atma is free from that Moola Vidya, which is the cause of samsara, isn't it? Therefore, it's what? It's impurity. What is that? Karana Shariram, causal body. Therefore, Atma being free from causal body, Atma is free from Karana Shariram also. Now you got this word Shuddha negates what? Karana Shariram. Avranaha, Asnaviraha, those two words negate Sthula Shariram, physical body. Akayaha negates subtle body. Got it? Takes time to just to say Atma is free from Karna Shariram. Finished, isn't it? Why this much? That is what is Vedanta, okay? How can I make you sit for so long? You simply say one word, Atma is free from subtle body, means you finished class over, you'd have gone. One sentence. Atma is free from subtle body. Atma, it means Atma has no subtle body. Atma is devoid of subtle body. Free from, Atma is not a subtle body. To say that, it is how Upanishad makes you sit and be in the same, make you remain in that one word, one meaning for some time. Understand? Your simple sentence. But your mind has to be in that one sentence, grasping, understanding, retaining, remembering that one Swarupam of the Atma. Is it clear? The more you study, you will understand how words are unfolded. Anyway, so Shuddha. Now the three bodies have been negated by all these words. Then Apapa Viddham. Apapa Viddham. So Shuddha negates what? Moola Vidya, Moola Jnanam, otherwise called Maya, which means the cause of the mind, not the trait of the mind. Is it clear? That is the basic impurity. So Atma is free from that basic impurity means, and where's the question of Atma being, Atma is free from all other impurities also. The effects of the impurity, cause. Then Apapa Viddaha. Apapa Viddham should be understood as Apapa Viddaha. See, Viddaha. Viddham means pierced, forked, afflicted, killed. That's what Viddha. Vyadhyati. Just come from that verb. the participle. So, papa avidna papena na viddaha. Apapa viddaha means the one who is not afflicted by papam. One who is free from sins. Atma is free from sins. This is the beautiful teaching. So everyone Shastram addresses, you are Atma, you are Param Brahma, you are Purnaha, you are free from papams. Oh papi, you are oh sinner. No. Doesn't call you. Understand? What a difference you see. You are already so relieved you are first. Then you listen, how am I not a sinner? I think I'm a sinner. Please tell me, how am I not a sinner? You feel relaxed and you ask. If you start saying that you are a sinner, you finished. Already you collapsed, isn't it? You were a lot of guilt. Already you are very guilty. You are made more guilty. And with all guilt, you won't be in a mood to listen also. What can you understand? Whereas Shastram reveals the fact. You are free from all papams. No, what papam? Atma is free from all papams, all sins. So papam here means both punyam and papam. Don't think only papam, okay? The result of, isn't it? The result of right actions is punyam. Results of wrong actions is what? Papam. And papam has to be experienced how? Going through pain. And then punyam gets translated into the pleasures, time-bound pleasures, in between. Time-bound pleasures. So this punyam and papam, both are not there for Atma. For a wise person, or even for a real mumukshu, real jigyasuhu, for the person who is totally committed to the pursuit of moksha, he knows anything which binds you is only papam. Anything which contributes for your bondage is papam only, sin only, isn't it? Not only papam, sin is a sin, punyam, which is also binding, is also what? Papam. Which punyam also will contribute for your rebirth. Pain also will contribute for your rebirth. Punyam also will not remove your ignorance. Punyam and papam, how much your karma you do, how much your righteous actions you do. Now, any amount of good karma you perform, you can accumulate lots of results, and all those results will be what? Punya phalam. You can accumulate punyam, and when they get translated, you can enjoy also what now? Some time-bound pleasures. But enjoyment of pleasures through the accumulation of punyam by performing righteous, clean actions will not remove your ignorance. Understand? So ignorance will be there. As long as ignorance is there, you will continue to be bound only. Therefore, that is why ajnanam is what said to be what? Ajnanam, ajnana karanam. The moola ajnanam is the basic, fundamental, original impurity. And Atma is free from that original impurity we saw. Now he says what? Atma is free from all punya papams. Atma is not, Atma doesn't get elated when experiencing pleasures. Atma does not get, dejected also by going through pain in life. The Atma is free from both punyam and papam. In fact, Atma is not even what now? Free from punya papams. Therefore, apapa viddaha. Okay. Until now, all these words reveal the nature of the Atma from its own standpoint as Nirupadhika Atma. Atma is free from upadis, free from threefold bodies. Atma is free from actions. Atma is free from punya papams. Atma is free from the base original impurity. Atma is, Atma is, why? Because Atma is pure knowledge, pure awareness, and pure consciousness. Therefore, Atma is of the nature of self-effulgence, and Atma being pure, what now? It is pure knowledge, and it is of the nature of all pervasiveness, like this space. So all these words reveal the nature of the Atma from its own standpoint as a Nirupadika Atma. Now you see other words now. Kavihi, Manishi, Paribhuhu, Swayambhuhu. Okay, Kavihi, the word Kavihi literally means poet, but here it means what? Seer. Seer means what? Seer means, seer means here all knowing. Again, Kavihi also, as Nirupadhika Atma, if you see, the consciousness, the reality which is of the nature of knowing, whose Swarupam is knowledge. Knowing is not an action but Swarupam. The reality, as the pure reality, as pure consciousness, whose Swarupam is knowing, knowledge, it also can be said to be what? Kavihi. But as Sopadika Atma, with Maya Upadhi, the knower of everything is Atma. Which means Kavihi implies what? Sarvajnaha, all knowing, omniscient. How do we say Atma is of the nature of omniscience, all knowledge? Means Sarvadriktvam, and also what? Sarvajnatvam, Sarvajnaha. Atma is Sarvajnaha. How do you say all knowing? Through with the Maya Upadhi. Atma is not the knower, but there is no knower other than Atma. If anybody says, no, I am the knower, who are you? We'll ask you. Okay? If you comment, anybody comes and says, I am the knower, he is the knower, she is the knower, he is the knower. All of us are knowers, yes. Every one of you can say what? You the knower are Atma. You the knower are Atma. I can say everyone should be told what? If anybody comes claiming, I am the knower, no, who can deny? You the knower are Atma. We can tell everybody. But how many Atmas are there? Only one Atma. Therefore, the knower obtaining in every mind has to be resolved in Atma only. Like how there are so many opaque things here, and there is, you can say, this is illumined by what now? Illuminator. The illuminator of this, illuminator of this, illuminator of every body, illuminator of every picture in this hall, illuminator of every opaque thing here is one and the same light. We can say there are so many illuminators, you can count the number of illuminators in keeping with the number of illumined opaque things. How many things are illumined here? So many things are illumined. So many opaque things are illumined. And therefore you can say, you count the number of opaque things illumined, and you can say what? Every opaque thing is illumined by an illuminator, and illuminator of every opaque thing. You can say there are so many illuminators. How many illuminators are there? All the illuminators are nothing but, there's only one illuminator, but illumined are many. Illumined minds are many. Illumined sense powers are many. Illumined bodies are many. Illumined objects are many. But the illuminator is one. The knower is one. There is no, Atma is not the knower, but there is no knower other than the Atma. Understand? The only knower obtaining in all the minds as the knower is what? Atma. Okay? Kavihi. What? Kavihi. Through the with the Maya Upadhi, Atma enjoys the status of being the Sarvajnaha, all omniscient. Okay, then Manishi. The Kavihi also, I have to tell you one more thing. Not only this, again I will explain in next class maybe. So Manishi. Manishi, I need to really go. Actually, I need to explain a few more things here. You have already time, I don't know. Time is gone. Anyway, so Manishi means Manasaha Ishita. Ishita means, it's not, it's this word has come from the root Ish. Ishate. Ishati means rules, governs. So, the Lord of the mind, being the Lord of the mind, one who is the one governor of the mind, ruler of the mind, isn't it? The one ruler of the mind means what? The one without whose presence mind cannot function is the ruler of the mind. And thereby the one who governs everything, everything here by governing the mind is called what? The all governor, all governing person. Is it? In fact, ruler of the mind, controller of the mind. Say what now? Manishi. Then Paribhuhu. Paribhuhu. Pari again means what? All on all sides we saw. But here Pari should be taken as above. Upari. Upari. Pari means above. Upari means above, okay? And Pari Bhavati, Pari Bhuhu means the one who is exalted, remains above everything, one who is beyond all that is here. Beyond everything means the one who is not limited or bound by the world. Okay, one who is not bound by the world, one who is free from the world, one who is free from the world, one who is free from everything, being distinct, being immanent, the one who is free from everything. Okay, one who is not bound by the world is called Paribhuhu. Then Swayambhuhu. The concept of Ishvara is I'm going to explain beautifully next class, okay? Now we can understand this word. Swayambhuhu. Swayambhuhu means Swayam Bhavati, it is Swayambhuhu. Literally it means what? One who is of the nature of existence. One who is of the nature of existence means one whose Swarupam is pure existence. It implies what? One who is self-existent. Self-existent means the causeless, uncaused. Causeless, uncaused means what? Not created, uncreated. So you have to come from here, okay? Self-existent. Self-existent implies what? Causelessness. Causelessness implies what? Okay, being the uncaused. Being the uncaused means what? Being uncreated. Being uncreated implies what? Beginninglessness. Beginninglessness implies what? Eternity. Nityatvam. Okay? Swayambhuhu literally means what? That which is eternal means what? Timeless. Okay, you have to connect all of them. Eternal, timeless, reality is what? Therefore, it is of the nature of existence. It enjoys its own existence. Self-existence. Swataha siddhaha. Now, but here, Swayambhuhu, Shankara Bhagavad gives another meaning also, because always Nityaha, eternal, timeless, is of self-existent means, not only that, Swayam Bhavati. Swayam Sarva Bhavena Bhavati. I want to tell you this much, okay? Sarva Bhavena Bhavati. Sarva Bhavena means the one that which alone exists as everything. Which means other than the Atma, there is nothing. That which alone becomes everything, that which alone exists in all the forms. Which alone exists, which alone exists in the form of everything means what? Everything implies all the beings of the most superior, the mediocre, inferior orders of the world. All the creatures, all the beings. For example, I tell you, suppose Hiranyagarbha, the most superior being, the Lord. Hiranyagarbha means what? The Hiranyagarbha, all samashti, all the phenomena, all the total powers put together constitute Hiranyagarbha Ishvaraha, the Lord. Each devata is what? Like Cherry Brook is what? Part of Sydney. Isn't it? So Sydney includes Cherry Brook. Is it clear? So like this here, every devata is what? Part of Ishvara, the whole. So Ishvara includes devata, but devata does not include Ishvara, called Vyashti Samashti. Understood? Now you say Hiranyagarbha is of what now? The being of superior, most exalted order. Now each devata, when compared to Hiranyagarbha, is an inferior being. Okay, the being of inferior order. Therefore now he says, who is Swayambhuhu means Atma alone, Swayam Sarva Bhavena Bhavati. The one who exists in the form of Hiranyagarbha, the one who alone exists in the form of devatas, all the devatas. So the beings of superior order, also are nothing but Atma. The beings of inferior order also what? Who is the devata? Every devata is Atma. Hiranyagarbha is Atma. Is it clear? Not only that these beings of superior and the order and inferior order, the most exalted, the most exalted, sophisticated beings, the human beings also what? Atma. Plants, beings of inferior order, plants, animals, other creatures, non-living inanimate things, all of them are Atma. Therefore, Atma, which alone exists in the form of all the beings, Sarva Bhavena Bhavati. Atma alone is in the form of everything means, who makes Atma, who converts Atma into everything? No, Swayam. Atma by itself exists in the form of everything. Is it clear? This is the meaning of what? which means Atma is in the form of everything. Sarva Rupaha Atma. Sarva Rupaha, Sarva Atmakaha, is the Atma. That is the meaning of the word Swayambhuhu. Then, next last one is here. There is no Lord other than the Atma. There is no Lord other than the Atma. That last sentence is one sentence. Atma is what now? Ishvaraha, the Lord. If at all we talk about Lord, the God. Is there a Lord? Is there a God other than the Atma? No. Understand? Ishvaraha also is the Lord. Who is the Lord? He says, Lord is the one, Vyadadhat. Vyadadhat means what? Vyadadhat means Vidadhati. One who prescribes, ordains, determines, delegates, allots. The Lord is the one who prescribes, allots. Allots what? Arthan. Artha means what? Different duties, responsibilities, actions. The allotter, the determiner of duties is what now? Arthan Vyadhadat. To whom? He says, Shashvatibhyaha Samabhyaha. So Samaha means Samvatsaraha. Literally it means year. No, the 12 months which constitute the year is called what? Samaha. Samvatsaraha. But here Samabhyaha, Samaha means, Samvatsaraha means Prajapatayaha. Prajapatihi means a creator. Not only one creator, there are so many creators. So each creator is called a Devata. Each Praja, there are so many Prajapatayaha, so many creators, means so many Devataha involved in different aspects of creation. Each phenomenon involved in each aspect of creation, but different Devatas involved in different aspects of creation, different duties pertaining to the Srishti creation, all of them are said to be Prajapatayaha. Prajapatihi or Prajapatayaha means names of different Devatas. And those Prajapatayaha are said to be here Samaha. So this Ishvara, the Lord, known by the term Hiranyagarbha, the total, the Hiranyagarbha, Ishvaraha alone, what now? Hiranyagarbha does not create himself. He has to delegate, isn't it? The most efficient administrator should not be doing himself. He should know how to get the work done, extract the work from others. Therefore, here Hiranyagarbha is the best administrator who can extract work from all his, isn't it, fellow Devatas. Therefore, this Ishvara is the one who delegates and prescribes different duties and responsibilities to all the different Devatas. Which means each Devata must be having one's own prescribed, allotted, responsible duty. So here he says, Vyadadhat, Arthan Vyadadhat, to whom? Samabhyaha. And who are these Devatas? They are Shashvatibhyaha. They are eternal Devatas. Eternal means what? They are not, the eternity does not mean absolute eternity. The eternity here implies what? Perennial. What does it mean? Apekshika nityatvam natu atyantika nityatvam. Two different words, isn't it? See, every time there's a manifestation, all the devatas come into existence. Every time creation resolves, devatas also go back. Which means they do not enjoy absolute eternity, isn't it? They're relatively eternal, not absolutely eternal. Devatas enjoy relative eternity. As long as the creation is, so long these devatas are there. When the creation resolves, devatas also resolve. Understand? Whereas Atma is absolute eternity. Atma is of the nature of absolute eternity. Is it clear now? Whereas devatas enjoy relative eternity, which means they remain relatively, they enjoy what? They have long life. They remain as long as the creation is. Therefore, devatas enjoy relative eternity called apekshika nityatvam. Whereas Atma enjoys absolute eternity, Atyantika nityatvam. Therefore, but here he says, these Ishvaraha Hiranyagarbha prescribes duties to different devatas who enjoy relative eternity. But he says, how are they enjoined? How are they allotted? How these duties, different duties, of in the different aspects of creation, etc., they are allotted to these devatas means, how are they allotted? Devatas are also jivas. Okay? Which means they also have what? There's a gradation in their punyam. But they have only punyam, okay? No problem. Devatas means what? Only punyam. More punyam, little more punyam, more, like that. This is a difference. So in keeping with the proportion of the punyam they have, the duty is also allotted. Position also is allotted. We don't know anything about it, okay? Don't ask. Shastra, which means what? We have to understand here. So duty is also allotted means, yatha tatyataha. Yatha punya phalam tatha. Okay, yatha punya phalam tatha arthane shashvatibhyaha samabhyaha vyadhadate. Hiranyagarbha allots all these different types of, isn't it, duty responsibilities to all these relatively eternal devatas, in keeping with their punyam. Okay, so the more punyam you have, higher status, Indra status. Less punyam is some other status, like that. There's a difference. But he says, who is that? Who is the one? We already have seen Atma alone is in the form of Hiranyagarbha, means. Is it clear now? Therefore, it is the Atma who alone, remaining as the Lord of everything, Lord of all the devatas, allots all these duties. Is it clear? The literal meaning of the mantra is over. It means what? Almost I covered all other words. I want to the last sentence. Actually, it's a concept of Ishvara. Okay? I have to explain. Because allotment means what? Ishvara sitting somewhere or what? Calling everybody, giving his jobs again? No, not like that, isn't it? So what it means with saying allotment of duties to devatas by Ishvara? That we understand next class. Is it clear? Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.